Hi everyone, welcome to our PT Plus online lessons. Now the main topic for today's lesson is fill in the blanks, where we will be analyzing and breaking down the score criteria and also understanding our overall, time strategy and also our strategy when it comes to our accuracy aims. All right. So now, firstly, with fill in the blanks, if you don't already know this, you should, okay? Because over here, every single question has a different weight and a different amount of contribution. And now fill in the blanks is actually one of the top 4 question types that play a significant role when it comes to contributing to your listening scores and also to your writing score. All right, so fill in the blanks, this question alone has a total of 10 to 12 marks, roughly, okay, and contributes to about 8% of your listening score, and at the same time contributes about 10% to your writing score. So as you can see that relative to the other question types, it is one of the top 4. And now these top 4, apart from fill in the blanks, also include summarized spoken text, which is a massive percentage, as well as write from dictation, okay, as you can see here, contributing again to listening and writing 25% and 20% respectively, so it is huge. And finally, also highlight incorrect words, which adds 8% roughly to your listening and reading scores. Okay, now these percentages are rough estimates, okay, because of course in the exam the questions are randomly generated anyway, so these marks are never always fixed, all right, but this is just to give you a rough idea, a rough feel for how important these question types are, and therefore how much time and sort of effort you should be investing into these question types as well. You don't want to be spending all your time practicing multiple choice questions or select missing word when it's only going to be contributing about 2% to your listening, and then you're missing out on really maximizing your scores for the top 4 question types. Okay. Now let's have a look at the time strategy and also our accuracy aim. Alright, so the prompt length, so the length of the audio can be between 30 to 60 seconds, just depending on how long the text is. And usually you'll be seeing about 4 to 5 blanks in here, but at the same time you could get, up to 7 blanks or as few as 3 blanks as well. It just depends on the question itself. Okay, now in terms of the recommended time for doing this question, all right, keep in mind that while the audio is going, you will be able to sort of type a little bit, but you do need to be quick. And also, or if you're writing notes as well, you can be writing notes at the same time. All right, but after this amount of time, you still are able to go back and actually, double check if you're typing. You can fully type out or properly check your typing in the blanks, or if you're writing notes as well, you can then go back and fill in each of those blanks. And the recommended time, I would recommend about 10 seconds at most, okay, to fill in each blank. All right, because keep in mind that you want to manage your time well. This entire section is timed as a whole, so the more time that you're using up for this section, of course the more it will cost you towards the end. All right, so keep this definitely in mind. Roughly 10 seconds per question to fill it in completely and to check it that one time, and then keep moving on. Okay. Now, keep in mind that there are certain small skills in here that you do want to keep in mind or be really aware of, because these little things can actually cost you or make quite a big difference in your marks. All right, so make sure you watch our skill videos where we mention these things that seem to be quite small but yet make a big difference. All right. Now, in terms of your accuracy aim, okay, now obviously for fill in the blanks, it is the top 4, one of the top 4 question types. So you want to be scoring as high as possible regardless, okay? But here is the average percentage accuracy that you want to be able to achieve in the entire listening section, okay, in order to maximize your chances of getting your target score. Okay, so for example, if you're aiming for a 79, then the first thing, of course, is that you want to ensure that you are working on your speaking, and your speaking is hitting that 79 mark as well already, because speaking contributes to about 30% of your listening score. So even if you are to get 100% in your entire listening section, if you're not getting the marks from speaking into your listening either, you're still not going to hit 79. Okay, so you want to ensure that speaking, you are reaching and hitting that 79 first. Then afterwards, okay, in your listening, you want to be comfortably reaching about 82% in your average accuracy across the entire listening section. So all the listening question types, the average is 82%. Okay. So that's the emphasis, right? Your average accuracy across all the question types. So therefore, the higher your accuracy on the question types that are worth more, such as fill in the blanks, summarize spoken text, write from dictation, and highlight incorrect words. The higher your accuracy on these question types that are worth more, then you don't need to be achieving as high of an accuracy on multiple choice, highlight correct summary, select missing word, and those tend to be harder, and yet they're worth less as well. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is your accuracy for these different bands. Now, in terms of its score criteria, keep in mind that fill in the blanks contributes to your listening and your writing score. Okay, so it basically doubles its value if you are good at this question type. All right, now in terms of the score criteria, as you can see here, it's very straightforward. All right, you get 1 mark if you have one correct word, okay, and it's spelled correctly. Okay, and basically you don't get anything if you don't spell it correctly, or you miss out, or you get the wrong word altogether. Okay, now what does correct word with correct spelling, what exactly does that involve? What does that entail? Firstly, the correct words tend to always be content words, all right? So, whether it's nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and so forth, okay? You're not going to have, it's very, very unlikely for it to be testing grammatical words like, for or of. That's unlikely to be in a blank at all. But at the same time, they're not going to be testing some content words that are ridiculously very technical terms. For example, the name of a disease such as Alzheimer's disease or something like that. Okay, so it's usually things that are within your scope, within the academic scope. Okay, to test your standard of English. They're not out there to make it really ridiculously hard for you. Okay. All right. Now, what does it mean to for spelled correctly then? What does this then involve? Because it seems very straightforward, right? Like just spell the word correctly. But actually, there are all these little things that are going to make a difference to your accuracy. Okay, so for example, number 1, paying attention, practicing to pay attention to the prefixes and suffixes. And this includes things like your plurals, okay, or your verbs and stuff like that, your verbal endings, okay. Over here, I gave a very simple example where you've got connect, or they might have said disconnect or connection, right? Paying attention to the start and the ending, what they have at the ending, that's also very important, okay, or connect, connected, connected at the end, connects s at the end as well. So these prefixes, suffixes, and also your plural endings and so forth are going to make a difference. If you just miss out on that little bit, you're going to miss out on this mark altogether. Okay. Now the next thing also is your use of British versus American spelling. Okay, so over here, this is the British spelling for color, and this is the American spelling for color. And the key thing to take note about this one is that within one fill-in-the-blanks question, so let's say you've got 5 blanks in here, you do need to make sure that you use a consistent spelling system through those blanks in that one question itself. Okay, so in those 5 blanks, if let's say you used American spelling for one of the blanks and then you use British spelling for the other blanks, that's going to cost you. One of them is going to be taken as wrong. All right, so make sure you use a consistent spelling system in that one fill in the blanks question. All right. It's all right if in one fill in the blanks question, let's say these blanks over here, you're doing all British spelling. Then the next fill in the blanks question, you're doing all American spelling. That's actually still okay within one question, as long as within one question you are consistent. All right. But for your own learning's sake, try to stick to one, spelling system in general, right? When you're accumulating your vocabulary and so forth. So finally, let's get a feel for this question type by trying out a sample question. Okay, now over here, if you want to be taking notes, you can pause the video, go and get your pen and paper, and then come back. Okay, now are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and go.
Chapter 6, Fill in the Blanks, Track 12.
Well, sometimes representatives of a company make misstatements. They get something wrong regarding corporate policy. And there, sometimes the problem is just letting people up front know that sometimes this happens and apologize quickly when it does. What some companies do as an alternative is have hobbyists, aficionados run the discussion boards, and then representatives participate in that, but then they have much less liability as far as I could tell.
Okay, so now whether you've been writing notes or you've been typing on the computer so far, now I'll give you 10 seconds per blank, so you can pause the video and time yourself. Give yourself at most 10 seconds per blank, so about 40 seconds for this entire thing, to fully type up your answers and finalize it. Okay, so you can pause the video and finalize your answer now. Okay, so I hope you've all done that. And now before we go ahead to look at the answers, I just want to point out that as you can feel from this question, some of you might find that, oh wow, it's a lot tougher than it seems, because a lot of these words can be new vocabulary. But apart from that, at the same time, it also depends on your listening skill. So listening out to the speaker's pronunciation, right? Listening out, sometimes they're using connected speech, which also affects your ability to sort of decipher and pick out what word that exactly is. Okay, so there are a lot of these different factors. It's not just a simple listen and fill it in and that's it, right? There are all these little bits here and there that you do kind of want to be training yourself up on so that you can maximize sort of your performance on this question type. So we have quite a few skill videos as well later on that touch into more detail on these skills. So make sure you watch those too. Okay, now let's have a look at the answers. Alright, so these are the answers over here, and so just have a quick check. How many of these did you get correct? Okay, and how does that match up against your target accuracy? Alright, so on average, you want to be seeing, so if you're aiming for 79, you want to be seeing on average about 82%. Okay, so you want to be getting out of these 4 question types, you basically want to be getting at least 3 right, if not all 4. Okay, now if there's a difference from your target accuracy to what you're achieving right now, that's perfectly normal, that's fine. What you do want to make sure you're doing is accumulating all the vocabulary. Okay, especially if there are new words that you're not really that are new to you in the first place, you want to be accumulating and learning these words. And make sure that you're not just learning the meaning of that word itself and that's it. You want to be learning the meaning of that word in the context of the passage of the sentence. That's when it's really going to enhance your learning of this new vocabulary. Okay, and now over here, a couple of things as well that you want to sort of look out for that are a bit tougher about this passage. The first one is the word corporate. He went through that pretty fast. Okay, while the speaker was saying the word corporate policy. It's really quite fast. Okay, now corporate policy tends to be a little bit of a collocation, sort of. They usually pair together. You've got corporate policy, you've got legal policy, and so forth. Okay. So the knowledge of that is going to help you if you sort of didn't fully hear this word clearly. The knowledge of that is going to help you actually pick out that word more easily. Okay. The second thing is also the word corporate is, compared to its pronunciation, it's a little bit trickier to spell. Okay, so if you're not sure about the spelling for this word, now's the time to be accumulating that. Okay, you'll be seeing the word corporate or corporation everywhere. Okay, it's very common. It's a very academic word as well. All right, now the next one that is tricky as well is the spelling for apologize, right? With an S, this one is the British spelling, and with a Z, that is the American way of spelling. Okay, now in this question itself, it's fine regardless of whichever one you choose, because corporate, hobbyist, and liability, these three words are spelled the same regardless of British or American, right? So it's fine what you do here as well, because it would just all be consistent regardless. Okay, but if there was another one, let's say liability was spelt differently as well, like it's got two variations, a UK versus a US spelling, then that's when, you need to be exactly the same and consistent in that one question. Okay, now hobbyists and also aficionados, that's these two words, okay, are people who basically either pursue a certain hobby, or people who are very interested or passionate or very knowledgeable in a certain field, okay. And so these two words not just accumulate the vocabulary in the blanks itself, anything in the entire passage that you're seeing, you want to be accumulating those too. All right, and finally the word liability as well over here. Okay, but he did go through that quite fast. There's liability. He did go through that quite fast. So your sort of sensitivity to stresses and also de-stress sounds are quite important to your ability to pick out these words. Okay, so that's it for this lesson, and make sure to watch those skill videos where we break down all the different skills and techniques that you can be using to help maximize your accuracy and performance on fill in the blanks. Okay, see you next time on PT Plus.